I've got to separate one out. If it's a special education student and it's a suspension that looks like it may be more than 10 days, the school is required to have a manifestation hearing, a manifestation meeting. That meeting is composed of the parent. At the high school level, it can involve the student and one of the administrators, as well as the youngster's special education teachers and regular teachers. At that meeting, they make a determination as to whether or not the youngster's behavior is a result of the youngster's disability. In other words, was their behavior caused by whatever the youngster's disability is? If the determination is that it wasn't a manifestation of that child's disability, let's say, then it would wind up here. If it is determined that the behavior possibly all was a manifestation of the child's disability, even though I wind up having the long-term suspension hearing, we have to go in another direction. I schedule the long-term suspension hearing at my level prior to the expiration of the initial suspension. All right? At that hearing, and it's kind of like a quasi-judicial hearing, the parents and the student are there. The administration from either high school or middle school is present. High school and middle school present their evidence and what had transpired, etc. The parents and the child have an opportunity to give their version of events. I have the ability to ask questions of either party at any time. The parents have the right to ask questions of the administrator. The administration has the right at that meeting to also ask questions of the student or the parent. At that point in time, once I've gathered all the evidence from this hearing, in essence, I'm the judge at this point, I will then make a decision as to whether or not it will be a long-term suspension or a long-term suspension with a recommendation that will be going to the school board either for an expulsion or on this, a suspension longer than an additional 10 days, because under the law, I'm only empowered to suspend for 20, total of 20.
Nate, quick question on this, and in fact, you as well. At any time, is there a communication that goes out to the general public, right, or to the student body about the what has happened and what has transpired?
No.
Is there any time that happens?
I'm sorry.
Is there any time that does happen, that you do make a public statement or to the student body?
No.
Okay.
And that kind of gets to the nugget of my original question.
Okay. Let me just, I'll just finish.
Sure.
Okay? So once...
Yeah, we're getting to the best part.
Yeah. Once the hearing is completed, I will give a verbal decision as to what is going to transpire, whether it's going to be an additional 5 days, additional 10 days, or what have you, and whether or not there would be certain additional conditions that might be involved. The parent can then say, I'm going to appeal your decision, right? So under the law, if they tell me either at that meeting or once I send the letter to them, and one of the reasons we do the long-term suspension hearing prior to the end of the initial suspension, I cannot, the child, if they're going to appeal, then what I have to do is set up a hearing with the school board, with the parent, and the administration would then present their case, and you guys would rule. But discipline would have to stop after the 10th day until the board meets and then makes their decision as to whether or not they're going to uphold my decision or go in a different direction. Once again, if in fact that's the case, we send out another letter with all the backup information that's necessary. You, the board, then on an appeal, doesn't get the information ahead of time. It's then just like a hearing, all right? Where at the hearing, we would come in just like at a trial, and we'd say, okay, bam, 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 here's the evidence, here's our testimony regarding that. The board has the ability to ask questions of the administration, as to why they did something or what the evidence.
Before we go here, at this point in time, you're no longer part of the group making the decision.
That's correct. I then, to use the term, I then become the prosecutor, okay, of the case, all right? So I go from judge to prosecutor because you guys then become the judge or the court. So I would present the case, I would call witnesses, I would call, let's say in this case, let's say, I would call Katie or Art or Jay to provide their testimony. I then would also have the ability to question the student or the parents, just like, just in cross-examination. The parents and the student have an opportunity to present their case, they have an opportunity to ask us questions, the whole bit. Then the board, huh?
They could bring a lawyer.
Yes, they can. And even at my level, they can. I've had instances where people have shown up with their attorney or an advocate. All right. So once we get into this process, there's a whole slew of legal requirements that we must follow through on, and go through the whole process. Two, if it's a special education student, whether it's a manifestation of the child's disability or not a manifestation of the child's disability, under both federal and state law, if a suspension for a semester, either cumulatively or sequentially, exceeds 10 days, alternative programming must be provided. All right? So, that's another facet of the program. So then, once it gets to the board, you guys make a decision and you render, a decision based on the evidence that is presented.
If they're not a special education student and they are expelled,
Right.
what about going to school?
Okay. Here, an expulsion in the state of New Hampshire means this, that an expulsion runs basically indefinitely. So there's no finite end to it. And it also means even if Johnny Jones and his parents move to another community in New Hampshire, that school is under no obligation to accept that child. In other words, if you're expelled from Londonderry High School, example, and you decide you're going to move to Peterborough or Berlin, that would follow, and Peterborough or Berlin probably would say, sorry, you can't come here, you've been expelled. However, under state law, if a youngster is expelled, they can mount an appeal, if you want to call it that, prior to the start of the next school year. But the board can accept the appeal or have a hearing, but the board then is under no obligation to rescind the expulsion. Right? Now, with the policy, the regs that you've approved for a second reading here, what we've clarified is the board can also do something less than an expulsion. You could say, well, 90 days, 100 days, 2 hours and 15 minutes, whatever you want to do, above and beyond. But all along the way, there are legal requirements that we must fulfill. So when you look at a long-term suspension up to my level, okay, it can cover, a 2-3 week period, depending on the length of the investigation and the multiple hearings that take place, and then if it winds up the school board. Because what can also happen is, let's say, I say, all right, I'm going to recommend to the school board that you be expelled from Londonderry High School. I can't do it. The board has to. And I'm also extending the suspension for 10 days, which is the maximum I can do is 20. That then means that the school board must conduct its hearing prior to the termination of the 20-day suspension. Because if you don't, then that youngster re-enters school for whatever that period of time is between the end of the suspension and when the board has a hearing. All right, so there are practical timelines and the whole bit. So that it's not as simple as people think. You can't just go, hey, you're out of here, because there are legal niceties, if you want to call it that, in
Just
this law.
to finish this trip, what if they want to appeal our decision?
I can go to state board.
Also, just the one thing is, one item is if it comes to the board, we have legal counsel.
Right.
And that's our guidance to make sure that we're following the laws that are put forth. So we have a legal guidance, and he speaks to us. We make the decision, the final decision on the recommendations, or we may come up with a different recommendation based on the information presented.
Now, the other thing to know is that under law, all of this, from the board's perspective, has to be done in non-public session because of privacy. The only exception to that would be if the parents opted to have it in an open meeting. I've yet to see a parent want to do that.
It's a question they often don't understand
Right.
when we ask it.
Yeah, so it all falls under the privacy regulations and rules and laws, so we can't do that. So, and how can I best say this? Not as much as I would like everything to be black and white, there are sometimes shades of gray with situations with students at home or family situations or other extenuating circumstances. So in some instances, we have information that would lead us to make a decision that, given a similar set of circumstances, without that information, we would put in place one set of consequences, where because we have this other information, we might put in place other consequences, because we consider them to be of a significant nature. Let me give you just an example. If we know, for instance, that there's a situation at home where the child could, I gotta be careful how I say, that a certain level of discipline might result in physical harm to the child at home, we might adjust that discipline based upon that particular knowledge and work with counseling. In some instances, we've reported situations to DCYF or filed CHINS petitions, okay, or other things. So we try to take, and it doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while it does. We try to take that into account. But in all cases, what we fastidiously do is follow the policies and procedures that are outlined, observe all the legal requirements, which includes the privacy of people involved. So we can't just go out and say, okay, we caught 10 kids and we're suspending all of them for 10 days or what have you. So we have to follow through on that. What I think we can say, and perhaps is that as reminders to everybody, and talk about it, here are what the consequences are, right? I can't tell you what we did to John Robinson because we caught John with Percocet that he took from his house, from Mom, okay? I can't tell you what I did to Katie Sullivan because she had 2 beers on the way to school, okay, or I caught her with a 6-pack, okay, which is her drug of choice. But to know that we address it, and we address it seriously. And to go back to what we said before, that there are significant consequences involved, but there are also, too, as part of the overall program, counseling components that go along with it and other follow-up services in an attempt to prevent a repeat behavior. Okay? Now, here's the other thing. I don't want to spend too much time. We're all aware, I think, that there are, in fact, drugs in the community. There's no surprise. There shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Okay? What we have tried to do is put in place programs, both preventative and educational, not only for kids, but also for parents, too, to help address it. Is it something that we have to continue to stay on? Yes. There's no doubt about it. Do kids do things that they shouldn't do? Do they take risks they shouldn't? The answer is yes. And should they be addressed quickly and swiftly? The answer is yes, and I think we attempt to do that and do it appropriately. And do we try not to bury some kids? Because, you know, if some kid's out of school 20 days, that's a long time to be out of school, all right? So do we provide opportunities for makeup work and follow through? Yes, because then you don't want a kid coming back after being out of school basically a month and be so far behind that now, let's say at the high school, now they've failed all 5 courses. So do we provide an opportunity for makeup work and ability to make up something? Yeah, we do. Okay. Have we had some kids that have been repeat offenders? Yeah. Okay. Have some of our kids wound up in rehab? The answer is yes. Have we had some kids that have had significant drug and alcohol issues? The answer is yes. Have we had some kids, and this has also been with support of the board, that have had significant drug and alcohol issues and over a period of time have been able to correct it and actually graduate from Londonderry High School? The answer to that is yes. Are we successful in every single case? I hate to say it, but no, we're not. I wish we were. And we'll continue to strive towards that as a goal. And, you know, can we talk about this more at the beginning of the year? And we've even run, going back a couple of years, community programs where we put that on, and maybe 3 years ago, we had a couple community forums here which were taped, and we brought in counselors and drug and alcohol specialists, and did it, and we ran those programs repeatedly. Yeah, there's more stuff that we can do. Are there more things we can do, continue to do with community groups? And we've reached out to some of the community groups now that we'll be working with next year too, to provide additional support. Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing battle. Do we take our job seriously? Yes. Do we not only look out for the safety of the particular students that maybe are abusing drugs? Yes. Have we also significant concerns for the other students? The answer to that is yes too, and that's why we move as quickly and swiftly as we can. Do we catch everybody that's walking in with a bag of grass in their pocket? Probably not.
Right.
Just to follow up on this here, and just to close the loop a little bit more on this whole process, if, I'm going to use Todd, not an administrator, if Todd came up to one of the board members here and his child was in that situation and explained his story to us, or if you came to one of the board members and explained the story, what would that board member have to do? Before the hearing?
Yeah. Outside of the hearing?
Outside of the hearing.
You
before-
got to refer it back to us. You can't, because on the possibility that it comes to you, okay, you're acting as a judge, okay? You would have to recuse yourself from it because you have been, in a sense, biased one way or the other. So that if a parent contacted you, the prudent thing for you to do is say, you got to go speak to the superintendent or you got to go speak to the principal. Because I can't listen to what you're telling me now. If you think your child has been judged unfairly, let's say that's the case, and a hearing is being held, and let's say the hearing was already held by me, you can say, well, if you're going to appeal it, you're appealing it to me, you can present your case at that hearing.
Right. The biggest thing is that if we get into the situation and listen to the story from either side,
Right.
it does absolutely no good because I'm going to have to step down from the board,
Right.
or anyone here would have to step down from the board.
Right.
So it's
And that's happened several times over the years with me. I know sometimes it's verbally, sometimes it might be an email, sometimes it's a letter. And frankly, I get to the first paragraph and I destroy the letter, contact the person, and
Right, and as the board knows, I don't give, if we're having a student hearing with the board, is the board knows I provide you with no information at that time except to say that we're going to have a hearing on such and such, so that you are not biased one way or the other, either for the administration or for the child, so that you can act in an impartial manner. That's really key. You know, I wish I could be able to, you know, just leave it at that we have to operate under certain restrictions. So, in one sense, it might make life easier if I said, we caught 5 kids, and guess what? All 5 were suspended for 10 days, and then they're going to meet with me, and they're going to be suspended for another 10 days. Well, unless you guys want to spend a lot of money defending me in court, you know, I don't think you want to do that.
Okay, but at the same time, and again, we're back to the nugget of the original question that I was trying to ask. Suppose somebody is a parent of a student at the middle school who hears through the grapevine that there are drugs being sold at the middle school. Clearly, we're not going to put out an announcement, you know, the Londonderry school system says that 5 kids were busted for, but at the same time, are we doing enough, or is there more that we could or should be doing to keep the parents of the student body informed about the health and safety of the school environment?
I think the fact that we provide periodic reports to the board in detail, in public, as to the disciplinary actions that have taken place is important. I would say if a parent had a specific question, were there drugs or something in the school, and they called the principal, okay? The principal can say, yes, there was, and basically that's it.
Here's the problem, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I'm going to play this. So, I'm a parent, and I just contacted you. I heard there were drugs in the middle school, and that they found, you know, like half a bale of something, and the kids, and it's all over the school, and there's 6 kids that got suspended, and 2 didn't get suspended, and who are the ones that got suspended, and who are the 2 that didn't get suspended, and why?
I can't release the names.
What do you mean you can't? I want to know.
I can only tell you that we had an issue at school today that was resolved and handled by the administration, and everybody's safe.
What are you doing to protect my kid from these drug pushers in your school?
I brought a friend.
Yeah. I'm the advocate.
We do a lot of work in our health classes, and we'll continue to provide students with information throughout the year, and, you know, certainly with our guidance counselors, specifically the grade level guidance counselor, depending on what grade level the kids are in, we'll go into classes, we'll go into our academic study development time and do some of that kind of work.
It's that young kid, wasn't it?
No comment, Mr. Robinson.
Don't do that. I have to say, those questions aren't dissimilar to the ones that I'm asked in the grocery store or on the street. And frankly, your answers were pretty close to the ones that I usually give.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's the way it is. We can't, I think Nate said it very well, we can't be gossiping about these situations.
Right.
And we can't say that, hey, 10 people are gone, and, you know, those must be those 10 kids that were down at the soda fountain.
Right.
They do still have soda fountains.
But you really have to look at the whole thing, right? You're protecting everyone that's involved. You're protecting those that are in harm's way, the kids that didn't do anything in your general population. You have to protect the kids that actually did it, right? Because you'll put yourself in a precarious situation, right? And we have a process in place to handle all of the problems and it's graduated as well. It starts at the school level and works its way up to us. And there's an entire process, and we have to run the process, and it works. So I think that's basically what we're seeing here. I mean, a lot of people may want to know because they're nosy and they either want to defend one way or another, but at the end of the day, the system is fair and it works.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair to many community members, I've had a number of questions posed to me, well, who was it when they did it? And I think after I go through an explanation, explain that, we all are precluded from releasing certain information, okay? But generally speaking, this is what happens, this is what the process. I can't tell you what I did with Stella, or with Katie, or with Rich, or with Andy. Well, I wouldn't name them, but I can't. But this is what the process and procedure is, and this is what we implement, and this is what we do every single time. Do it, and so it's important, and it goes down to a whole bunch of other things. I mean, if some kid, not that this would ever happen, if some kid would mouth off to a teacher or an adult, let's say, and use some profanity, I mean, I can't release that name even, and I can't say, well, that child got suspended for a day or got 4 demerits or whatever the case may be. I just can't because of the privacy. And part of it, and it's basically law, because even now, if a child, believe it or not, if a child is over 13 years old, and you go and a parent takes that child to the doctor, and let's say you want to have certain drug tests done, some of the results, the child has to give permission for the parent to get those results. All right? So, and if it's, let's say it's your own kid and they're 18, all right, unless they give permission to have the doctor share the medical information with you, you can't get it. I mean, one of the most, I have to be, is switching gears a little bit, but it was one of the things that always frosted me, was when my kids were in college, and I wanted to, because not that I didn't trust them as far as their grades were concerned, but it's always kind of nice to know if you're laying out that kind of money and you're signing the checks. I mean, you have some way of finding out, and they won't give you any of the information. And I remember the conversation I had with one of them. I said, would you look at and see whose name is at the bottom of that check? It's not Adam Greenberg. It's Nathan Greenberg. I know, but we can't give you. But that's the way it is. So if, just to extrapolate that a little bit, if there's certain information that unless you get permission from the student to even give to the parent, you can imagine how much more strict it is as far as providing information to the public regarding a particular child. Or so much information that it's easy to identify the fact that it was John Robinson.
Even though half the student body would know that because...
I can't control that.
Yeah.
What I have to control is, what I have to do is make sure that I follow through on the statutes, because, like it or not, becomes a liability or a legal issue, right? And I don't think you guys want to be coming to me and saying, Nate, how come we have these 25 lawsuits here because you can't keep your mouth shut?
Sitting up here for a while, the worst phone call you receive is from Nate telling you that you have to have a disciplinary hearing. I mean, I've sat here with a lot of board members, and there's a lot of good things about doing here, graduations, a lot of the other stuff. That is the worst phone call, because you have a child's future in your hands, and you're trying to make the right decision. And you're trying to listen to both sides of the argument, trying to do the right thing. It is the hardest decision to make, and I know there's many board members that stood up many a nights after they left here, after those decisions. So.
Yeah. Anything else from anybody? Hi, Katie.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah, well, good to see you here tonight.
I thought you gave you a report already, didn't you?
I think I'm all done.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just going to start with some positive stuff that you never see in the report. You have the numbers in front of you, and I'm very proud of our numbers and all that, but I was just going to share with the board real quickly why I believe our numbers are where they're at, and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we do at our school to make sure all our kids are successful. The first thing I believe is that every Monday morning, the entire school year, myself, along with the members of the response team, have a roundtable discussion about kids who are going through some tough times and how LHS can support them. On an average, we are talking about 10 kids every Monday morning who maybe are struggling with themselves, self-esteem. There might have been debts in the family or with friends. There might be some severe family issues going on. So we make sure that those kids are identified, and we tell the people who need to know stuff that's going on. Second thing is every Monday afternoon, the entire school year, myself and the RTI team sit down with students and their parents who have been referred to RTI, and we discuss action plans to implement throughout the school year to help them be more successful. We have also instituted a mental health procedure for students to get outside help when dealing with personal issues. The school and the outside agencies have a mutual respect for one another and have been working hand in hand on some of our students who might be needing some outside assistance. The 4 assistant principals started meeting monthly with the JPPOs because we have a number of our kids, especially our frequent flyers, who are court involved. So we are now meeting monthly with the JPPOs to talk about
What are JPPOs?
juvenile probation officers. And they come in, they meet with the 4 APs, we have private conversations about the kids that they're dealing with. We tell them what's going on in school, they tell us a few things outside of school, and so we can help that student either get off probation, stay on, stuff like that. Those have been wonderful meetings. During every lunch period and between every class period, the halls are supervised by the 4 APs. Hi, Nancy. And Jason, to ensure that students are acting appropriately. The house system at LHS, I believe, works. We strongly feel that all kids have a place to go when they need to, whether it be to complain about a friend being bullied or even how to get over the loss of a loved one. Kids know the house office and the people in them. 99% of the time, all after-school and evening events are chaperoned or supervised by at least one person on the admin team. I strongly believe that we build strong relationships with the LHS kids and help them when they are down or just simply need a pep talk. We ask the seniors to lead by example, and we empower them to help us with decision-making, to be a strong fan base, to be the role models in the hall. The support from the families throughout the school year helps us a lot. And even looking forward to next year, things we've already have done works with the middle school is we had our step-up day with incoming 8th graders. We had over 1,000 kids at the gym at one time, 400 and something 8th graders, and I probably had about 400 high school students all intermingling, talking about and getting them ready for high school. And it was just a really cool event to see high school students and middle school students and everybody working together. The kids who are on 504 plans or IEPs have already come up for their transition meetings. They have met their case coordinators. They got individual tours. They got their schedules looked over. Sharon, or Shannon, your 8th grade counselor. Sharon. She met individually with all the Londonderry High School counselors to talk about her caseload and to share some private things with the counselors up here. So those kids that she's seen over the 3 years, that she could pass them on to the counselors. And Wendy Hastings has met with the 4 APs already to go over some of the kids that might need that extra high five in the hallway or that extra hello in the hall. She has already come and talked to us about those students. Next year, we are also going to be implementing a smaller version of an advisory program where 2 periods a day, some of the kids that come through the RTI program might need like a life coach or a mentor or space to go throughout the day to help somebody organize their binder, to talk about the issues that are going on throughout the day. So we're seeing more and more of those kids who aren't identified need a study period and a little life coach to help them throughout the school year. So we're going to implement that for 2 periods next year. And that is why I believe our kids are so lucky to be students at Londonderry High School and in this district, because with all of that and everything else I forgot, they are supported year-round. And one quick story, there was a young girl who graduated this year. She shook some of your hands, and when she got to me, she goes, "Do you think they remember me, Miss Sullivan?" And I said, "What do you mean, kiddo?" She goes, "Well, remember freshman year, I was stupid, and I got in trouble a lot with drugs, and I was this close to being expelled, And I remember two of their faces up there, and one of them gave me an extra squeeze in my hand, and I kind of felt good because that was his way of saying, you did it. And I almost cried. Well, I always cry, but I almost cried right there on the spot because when Nate says our policies are tough and they are strict, and some students could be suspended or for a half a year to a year, but our dropout rate is less than 1%, and those kids who we do suspend because they have broke our school policies, we make sure that they graduate. And that young girl I do Little House 4 Awards. She got my most improved because 4 years ago she was using every day, getting expelled from school, not caring about anything, and then to see her walk across the Verizon stage was just probably one of the most awesome moments of my life. So that's what we do. And then if you have questions about the report, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them.
Anything anybody needs? I guess not. Just the one thing I'd like to suggest, Nate, based on all the information that came out tonight, we might want to think about whether some of this could be captured on a video or some other format that could be run on the cable channel and made available through web streaming to explain the processes and procedures that things are followed, so that parents who might not have tuned in tonight, what few there are, would have access to it, and we'd be able to point them to it on an ad hoc basis.
I think we can do that. I'd be happy to put together something. We have some very lovely female administrators and some handsome male administrators. And then there's me.
Yeah.
And we can put together a brief video so that people can understand.
Reasonably talented video production program, too.
Put together a little video. Here's what the policy is and that kind of stuff.
Question. Is it possible to break this down at a macro level in different categories and have it graphed over, say, multiple years? I don't know if that's something you can do. The reason why I ask that is because, visually it's easier to tell what trends look like and, how well we're progressing or not progressing for that matter.
Yeah.
But a quick graph over, say, a 3-year period or 4-year period, whatever you have the numbers for, at a macro level might be interesting to see as well next time you present the numbers.
I think we've had a problem with that because of the change in methodology.
The only thing that's different, I date mine back, I started here 5 years ago, but the terms that we have used over the last 5 years and the things that we have changed.
This first time they're together.
Yeah. See, that's,
So let's start graphing it. Starting now.
And now John's asking for more.
John's been
Great,
asking
good.
for a decade at least.
I will ask Rich to head up that technology team.
Yeah.
Like it.
To do this software. But I think we probably can put together a graph that could show it, and then I think if the board is comfortable, what we can do is we can take the 9, 10, 10, 11, and then as we present next year, you can see the 11, 12, and then maybe what we can do is compare semester to semester. So it'd be first semester 9, 10, first semester 10, 11, first semester 11, 12. And then the second time we do the report, we can do the second semester, and then we can do like total year.
That's fine.
Okay, does that make sense
Yes,
to everybody?
Thank you.
Katie, could you please do that?
Absolutely.
You got it.
Sorry, Katie.
No.
That's okay.
Anything more from you guys?
I just have one thing to add that Howard forget. Jenny Thompson, who's one of our junior lacrosse, she was named All-American, and I just want to make her more embarrassed because I already put her name on the front board, but what a delightful girl. She's a junior this year, and to be named All-American is a huge honor. So I just wanted to, I know she's not watching this, but if she does, recognize her for those efforts because that's pretty cool.
Thanks very much. May enrollment report, Nate.
Yes, our enrollment for May, end of May is 5,011. Our enrollment tomorrow is 0. I don't know where they all went, but they're going, which is actually a +1 from.
Work in the fields.
Yeah, from the end of April report, so it's there.
Nate, what is our Russo enrollment for next year right now?
Right? Bonnie, where are we at this point? 243. I think we had projected 255.
That looks like we're on track.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
time.
pretty close. We still have some packets outstanding, so we'll see how that goes.
A little bit of housekeeping here.
Mr. Chairman, I want to accept the resignation of Cheryl Jacobs, who was not on the original consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's give that one to Nancy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And, what I'd like to do too is, I don't want the opportunity to pass. I would like to publicly thank Cheryl for 10 years of outstanding service to the school district. She did a great job, and we were delighted to have her with us for 10 years. I think she made a significant difference in the lives of many children, and we wish her all the very best.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns from anybody in the room? Last call. Nancy, you have anything you want to mention?
Well, because I'm late to the party, did you all talk about graduation and adult ed?
A little bit.
I just wanted to add my sentiments that this was my first graduation and my first adult education graduation. And what a privilege, what a pleasure to be with you all. It was an honor to be on that stage and present graduates with their diplomas, and it was an honor to be at the adult graduation a week ago and present those graduating individuals with their diplomas. So I just wanted to publicly give you all that recognition. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay, we have non-public business. Is there a motion?
I motion to move to non-public under RSA 91A3, Section 2A through F.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Ron. This is a roll call vote. Aye, John Robinson.
Steve Young.
You're in this room, you're on the air. Thank you. Have a great summer, everybody.